Alright, it's the Frankly Fabulous Video Diary. Everybody wants to be a part of the Frankly Fabulous Video Diary. Gotta recount the adventures of the lives of the poets. I look to my left, I just noticed I have not one but two Bob Dylan songbooks on my card table right here, where I do my assorted, it's my tobacco station. And one of them is mine from storage. I've had this since high school. It's from the Grandview Library, as a matter of fact. It was, bought at probably some kind of library book sale or something. And then this one was here. The people that I'm, it's, and it's funny because it's the same. I just realized that because the other day I did my Bob Dylan tribute, which I think got blocked. I think it got blocked by YouTube. That's what I'm going to ascribe it to. Because I haven't seen it. It was supposed to premiere, but I think because of copyright issues with, Ram Horn Music or Bob Dylan's Music Publishing. It's like Ram's Horn Music or something like that. Let me look it up real fast. Yeah, see. There it is. The Bob Dylan songbook. Songs of Bob Dylan, 66 through 75. So that's a decade. A clean decade. Let's see. Okay, copyright 1966 by Dwarf Music. Copyright 1970 by Big Sky Music. Okay, more Dwarf Music. Okay, here you go. 1974 by Ram's Horn Music. So I guess maybe he's got different publishing. Is that some kind of tax thing? I'm not sure. Bob, I'm sure Bob would know the best way because he knows the best way of doing everything. So publish under different imprints. Probably some kind of ingenious. But anyway, so they both are the same. This is Blonde on Blonde, Blood on the Tracks, Nashville, Skyline Desire. And this is the same shit, except it's all the songs from that decade. It's all of, the basement tape stuff. Just anything that he published, more or less. Kind of obscure ones like Wallflower, Tough Mama. Going, Gone is in this. So I've got two Bob Dylan songbooks, so that's how much of a fuckboy, a dad rock fuckboy I am. I don't consider myself a F boy. I hate that term. An F boy. I'm more of a fun boy. More of a fun boy than a F-U-C-K. Well, I suppose. So anyway, I thought I'd just record the Frankly Fabulous Video Diary. Last night, I went to a reading. So my friend is in town from L.A., and a poet friend, she has a series called Beatnik Night, which I went to, last year in 2020, believe it or not. Things did happen in 2020 before the great, the rapture occurred. So everybody who's been cooped up, everybody in New York's going to LA, everybody in LA is coming to New York. Everybody's coming to New York, basically, because everybody wants to come back. I think all this shit, like 9/11, and I think it just endears New York to people. The tragedy, everybody sees it on TV because New York is this famous celebrity city. It's a character, so everything that happens to it is on the fucking news. Literally everything, Anything that happens in New York is looked on as a trend. Oh my God, crime is up, violent crime is up, this, that. It's on the fucking national news, And so people want to participate. I think the election, when Trump lost, and people were dancing in the fucking streets. I know that I saw that on TV and thought, well, they're not doing that in Ohio. I went down to campus. I was expecting some kind of celebration or whatever. Nothing. So I thought, well, my people are in New York, clearly. And I'm sure a lot of people thought that. I mean, New York is just one of the, humanely designed cities in this country, just, as far as pedestrian access and so anyway, I thought about taking a trip to LA. I don't know. It's a little too soon, I suppose. But I don't. I'm glad to be here. I was in Ohio for the pandemic. I don't want to be anywhere else. I want to be in New York too, and I've got a great situation here. And so in the continuing series, every night's a new adventure. I should have made a video about it, but I don't have a good camera, believe it or not. I got all these fucking cameras. I need to buy a new iPhone, because that's the easiest thing to shoot with. So like this, I heard about this reading in, I guess, East Williamsburg. It was right by kind of Jefferson Morgan stop area. It was near Knockdown Center, I think. It was off Flushing on a rooftop. And I heard about it through Instagram. Like, that's probably the best way to just pick up on. I mean, and I don't know. I've just been, like, wanting to go. My friend is in from L.A., and she was only free, like, a couple kind of windows of time. So this was the only, this was the reading I knew about in New York. I saw it on Instagram. It looked cool, kind of hip. I mean, it's East Williamsburg. I didn't really know what to expect. I thought it was a poetry reading. When we got there, it was mostly like prose, which I was kind of not that enthusiastic about. But I haven't been to Brooklyn, I don't think, at all. I've been to Queens to get my stuff, but have I even driven through Brooklyn? I don't think so. Since I was here in September. Since I've been back, I don't think I've been to Brooklyn, like, literally at all. Did I go to Park Slope? I don't even think I did that. So it's my first foray into Brooklyn. I get the L train right here. Take the L train. I mean, it's kind of a few stops. I got to go through every stop in Manhattan, then under the river, then through, it was Morgan stop, Jefferson stop is 6 or 7 or 8 stops into Brooklyn, I think. And, they're really two different places. That's what I'm realizing now, living here, having lived in Brooklyn. Like, it's amazing that they're so close together, because if they were in completely different parts of the country, they would both be central to the cultural identity, and they'd both be huge. And the kind of, I mean, this is a lot with a lot of New York, but especially between Manhattan and Brooklyn, just being able to shuttle back and forth between those two identities and those two they're not completely different, but like they are temperamentally and personality wise different enough that they're almost like two entirely different cities. Like let's say, I mean, San Francisco and Oakland are kind of like that, but it's almost like having San Francisco and like LA or something right next to each other, or like Portland, and it's like it's two kind of mega. Especially now that and this is what I realized last night, is as Brooklyn has become kind of the center. Well, they're different centers. The artists and the people, the bohemians, let's say, the people trying to make it, and the young people, more or less, they live in Brooklyn. Like the scene is definitely in Brooklyn. Let's say, there's institutions in Manhattan, and there are scenes here. There's college kids. There's kind of like the elders who have rent-controlled apartments or are established in the world, kind of professional artists, They might be in Manhattan, fucking broadcast, the top, the movie stars. But of course, tech people, we talk about it constantly. They've just like more or less gentrified and imperialized. It's imperialism, it's colonialism. It's the same shit. This island, and so just like even the texture, the surround is so completely different walking through Bushwick walking through Brooklyn, Williamsburg. Just, people are wearing cool clothes. They're all younger. They're all cool. Nobody's cool around here, frankly. I mean, you have a lot of, like, just like people who live here who are kind of all ages, but the young people around here are dreadfully uncool. I hate to say it. Even in the East Village, it's still just like college kids, like, trying. They're still kind of trying to get there. Whereas, like, Brooklyn, you have everybody 25 who got out of college, 25 to, 35, 40, whatever, who's, like, hip and young and lively and edgy, and, that's kind of where all of that. I mean, now there's this Times Square thing in Chinatown. I'm not sure. I went down there. It was cool, but it's not the same thing at all. And, like, Manhattan is overwhelmingly just homogenized and boring. There's the art stuff that's sort of, like, couched in this ultra wealthy, like, encasing. There's galleries. There's museums. There's institutions, but there's not really, like, a grassroots, let's say. Living in Manhattan, you start to see kind of the neighborhood. There are people here that are that way. People who have lived here, people who have lived in the Village their whole lives, or, who are more working class, let's say. It's not completely absent. Maybe they're not working class, but they're not ultra rich. Like the West Village is really just a suburb for, like, the ultra rich people. It's just been completely hollowed out, and nothing interesting can even really take hold there, as far as I can see. It just doesn't exist on that. Like, I don't know, money, because they're so, like, jet set and so, like, detached and affluent and spoiled or something. Like, it like, anytime it tries to engage on, like, all these boutiques and shit in the West Village, it's like there's no flavor, there's no character, it's just bland. Like, the local, like, there is probably some semblance, like, of a community of these ultra wealthy elite people in West Village and Chelsea and things, but, like, more often than not, they're transplants. And especially now with phones and shit, the way you can engage is just order things, so passive, so just, like, having things delivered. Like, Brooklyn, it does feel like there's a little bit more of that kind of, impoverished, edgy, young punk, for lack of a better word. I mean, just by virtue of the environment, the factories, the warehouses, the steel, and just the kind of gnarly. Everything's a hard surface. Everything's, like, a right angle, and it's just twisted, kind of rusty power and stuff. Manhattan's more like bulk, size, but Rhapsody in Blue kind of big bass drums and shit. So I don't know. Like, I do feel like, when I used to go to Ohio, I would always kind of I'd be wearing all black. I'd always kind of stand out because, like, being in Brooklyn, you do kind of get dyed in the wool of that. And, like, you dress, to your peer group. You see the way other, and you sort of, you fit in. And I did feel like I fit in, Brooklyn is still, it's just a fucking shame that Manhattan doesn't have the opportunity to have an interesting sort of shoestring, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, like, really robust community where artists can live in apartments and walk to each other's apartments and have parties in their apartments and do it from, like, a, like, I was reading this thing about Kenneth Patchen. every apartment he lived in New York City was in the fucking West Village. He lived on Bank Street and Bleecker Street and like West 12th Street, and it's like his rent was like $20 a month. He had a 2-story like building in the West Village. It was small. It was like 6 feet wide and like 12 feet long, or like it wasn't huge, but it was 2 stories and it was a standalone kind of thing. It's like now that place is probably $8,000 a month, like $6,000 a month. Like it's so far out of the reaches of anybody making like normal human being money. The 99%, anybody in the 99% couldn't live anywhere near there. And it's just, I live here now. So to go into Brooklyn now is like this, it's kind of a reversed experience where now I'm surrounded by these buildings, these proportions, these textures, colors, the west side of Manhattan. The sun goes down here. The Hudson, this kind of coast, all these kind of old factories that they're repurposing, all these old kind of industrial buildings. It used to be a port, the Titanic. I was looking at the fucking, this new island over here, Diller Island, and that whatever that art installation is the guy has. What is it called? Something West, or Sun West, or something Sun East, or Days End. That's what it is. Days End, I think, is what it's called. And they have a plaque because the fucking where there was a pier, the pylons. That's where the fucking Titanic was supposed to dock. Literally like 10 blocks from here, the Carpathia dock there with all the survivors in its stead. Like it was a port. That was the only way to get around. There was no airplane. There wasn't that jet travel kind of shipping. It was everything luxury. The fucking Titanic. Guggenheim was on that. They were just traveling from England to New York. That was the best way you could up until about 1950 or something. And then everything became faster. And this whole, I'm sure, it went from meat packing district. That was like they would bring the shit in. All the factories in the West Village, because just logistically, it was a port city. The harbor is. I mean, Brooklyn, you definitely see factories and things. I mean, that was the working class in this city. People worked in factories, sweatshops, whatever. So, anyway, I see this reading in Brooklyn, probably in a former factory, rezoned in Bushwick. I see it on Instagram, and it's a cool kind of young experimental writer. So I thought, okay, this will be good. It, like I said, it was the only thing I heard about. And I thought it's on a rooftop in Brooklyn. Like, at least it'll be kind of an interesting thing to, just check it out. Like, I don't know how many readings she goes to in LA, or, it was interesting talking to her and getting to know her better because she's relatively, the way she's going through her experience as, like, a poet is really interesting because it's very genuine and it's very just like she's not like just in some academic program, and she's not just like getting some book and it's like, okay, here's all the stuff I need to read. She's she's just kind of responding to what she likes. I guess that's kind of the way I did it to some degree. And she hosts her own reading in LA. That's how I met her. She hosts this reading. And but she's not, she does. I don't even think she knew what Beyond Baroque was, or I told her about Poetic Research Bureau. Like, I probably know more poetry stuff going on in LA. Maybe not more, but I know about a lot of stuff that she doesn't know about that's going on out there. And she said something about how she doesn't know any young poets, which, I don't know. When I went to her open mic, it was sort of like, it was a lot of like, kind of slam side. It was like actors who were kind of poets that sort of like had a little bit of a slam thing and were like, but there were like, more uh Sixth Finch kind of poets or whatever too, like kind of like solitude, solemn, serious thinker poet. It was definitely great. I loved it. It's right on Sunset Boulevard. It's outdoors. It's really awesome, and it's called Beatnik Cafe or something. So I felt like an immediate, like, I don't even think she really knows about that culture in LA. Like, I could probably fill her in. I could probably give her some books and things that might help her. But she doesn't. I don't know. She doesn't seem that interested in that. I'm not really sure why she called her thing Beatnik Cafe, other than it's just kind of a funny thing that people know about. Like, she doesn't. It's not about that aesthetic or anything at all. She's an editor for like this poetry journal online. So she reads submissions and stuff. She's been doing this series since 2018. And, like, she really is kind of, like, I would say, maybe not self-taught per se, because she does take workshops. Like, she kept telling me to take this workshop with this guy, Brendan Constantine, who's, like, an LA kind of eminent poet. And then she kept talking about this woman, Susan Loomis, who has a workshop. And so she's kind of taking, or she did like private consultation with her. So it's like, I think that's one thing that's interesting about poetry is like you do kind of find your way, even though it's such a like, shrouded world and kind of like, it's not very well publicized and it's hard to find, like me, for instance, I didn't even find out about New York school poetry project stuff till really 2015, considering I have such an affinity with it. It's kind of surprising. But, like, she was telling me she doesn't really read collections. She reads kind of individual. So we were talking about that a little bit. I can relate to that. In the beginning I read more collections. I would read things from start to finish, all the poems, and, like, really read it slow and take every single fucking thing in. Now I might only read one or two things in a book, if that. And that's okay. If there's 3 or 4 poems in a book that, like, are important to you, like, then it's necessary for you to have read them and studied them. And, like, it can change, it can help your technique. And change it for the better. Give you things to try. She says she doesn't like reading because a lot of times she'll find herself sounding like what she just read. I get that, definitely. That's why I read, I think. It's because, like, I don't know. I'm definitely trying to, like, assimilate. I don't know. If people have good ideas, you do it your own way, it becomes an original thing. And then you have your own ideas and your own ways of doing it, too. Like, you don't steal, necessarily, wholesale from somebody. Like, the idea is, like, if you combine this person's idea, the thing about them you like, and this other thing that this poet does, you're influenced by everything. That's kind of what's fun about it. Everybody you see, everybody you hear, everybody you, even just regular things and people and, but particularly maybe what you read. And so I think that that's part of the magic and part of the journey of discovery. It's like you're reading different spells or something. I don't know. Frank O'Hara said that you can't become a better poet by reading poetry. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. But basically it was like you can't, reading other poets does not make you better poet. Like, you're either a poet or not, basically. Or maybe there's other ways to be a better poet, but like reading poetry, I can see that. If you're original and you're a true poet and like you can just generate from your own ideas, your own imagination, then to some degree, yeah, I don't really necessarily think you do have to read other poets. But I know that there's probably way more bad poets who don't read poetry than good ones. Like any Instagram poet probably doesn't read poetry, and they're probably fucking trash. Like just writing like your feelings is beautiful poetry. And I encourage people to write song lyrics. I always judge people in high school or college who were like, they wanted to jam and start a band. They'd be like, yeah, let's start a band. And I'd be like, okay, what do you do? They like, I write lyrics. It's like, you don't really add anything here. It's like, you either got to play an instrument, you got to learn to play an instrument, or maybe if you're like some kind of incredible singer. Whereas now it's like, no, that's cool. I think it's cool that there's all these people walking around writing lyrics. Like, that's poetry, man. That's totally true poetry. It doesn't even matter what kind of bullshit they're writing. Like, if you're writing in like some kind of glittery pen in like your fucking college notebook, some like lyrics to like some super emo like teenage song, like, hell yeah, you are a poet. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You have the Frankly Fabulous seal of approval here on the Frankly Fabulous Video Diaries. Uncensored. They're banned. This is too controversial. This is too revealing. The Frankly Fabulous Video Diaries. Where was I? I just think the weather is like the most incredible thing on TV. Like, it's like watching God or something. You know, it's just like the work of God. I kind of wish they'd take the city names out, because just watching the cloud movements, it's almost like a conceptual art piece in and of itself. In fact, maybe I'll do an installation that's just weather radar shit with the place names taken out or something. This is the best station. When I turned it on the first time I turned it on, it's some kind of like water advice or like harbor forecast thing where it's like literally this is a buoy in fucking somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, and so that it's like Google Earth, and so they show you the weather conditions. Okay, 26.5 miles per hour east wind, 6.9 foot wave. So when I first discovered this, it was like real late. I came home from something, I don't remember what, and I'm super blazed, and like I turn it on because I didn't think I got any stations, but all of a sudden, I clicked in, and all it does is play fucking classic rock. It's literally like a classic, well, not right now. Now it's like on its ads, but it's literally like a classic rock radio station over this like harbor forecast. So it's all about like boating and like Jersey Shore, and it's like, so I turn it on and it's this fucking thing, and the song that's playing is Styx, Come Sail Away, Come Sail Away, Come Sail Away with Me. Literally, 2 a.m. I'm watching this. It's loud, and I'm thinking, is that all this fucking station is? Is like this weird like ocean cam of like these buoys and shit and like surf conditions, and like this fucking Styx song about Come Sail Away playing like over and over and over and over again, like 24 hours a day. And it turned out it was just a coincidence. I just somehow found the the Ocean Surf Channel 107.1 The Boss on the exact moment they're playing Come Sail Away by Styx. The magic continues, folks. See? Taking care of business. Dun, 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 dun. All right, we'll turn it off because we don't want to get sniped by the copyright shit. You're here on Frankly Fabulous. See? It's out of Middletown, New Jersey. You're here on WFLF. We're taking care of business. It's Friday afternoon. Hope you're not stuck in traffic. We got some nasty build up there on the FDR. On the Joe DiMaggio, things are clear. Stop and go at the red lights. Commute time's about an hour and a half from Central Park to the George Washington Bridge. It's hell out there. No, it's not. It's great. Everything's great. We're all having a great time. Post-pandemic, ring around the rosy, The flowers after the plague were so beautiful because of the rich vitamins they were fed from the decomposing bodies and the blood in the soil. So that's what this year is about. Just an explosion of vibrant, colorful growth on the resources that have been left behind. So we go. Well, I wasn't sure if she was driving in from Connecticut or what the deal was. But I went to Brooklyn earlier in the day because, I haven't been out there, and, it's in the vicinity of a couple bookstores I like, Human Relations and Molasses. And, of course, that's what, I still have to hit every bookstore. I can't believe I haven't done it yet. I still got to go to Unnameable. I still got to go to Housing Works in Park Slope. Got to go to Spoonbill Sugartown. Etc. There's still a number of so I try to multitask and bundle these things. So I hit up Human Relations, and the fucking guy there, it's cool, I like it, but they have a dollar rack out front, and I suspect I'm always finding shit out there that's not supposed to be out there. So I found a number of incredible deals on their dollar rack. And so I don't know. I didn't even want to buy this shit. I found a couple books which I did buy. This William Carlos Williams book and this Mac Wellman book of poetry, which is pretty cool, from Sun and Moon Press. But then I found Henry Miller Plexus, a paperback, which is really cool and old, but not in great condition necessarily. And then this Jane Jacobs book about economics or something. So I was like, okay, I'll buy it. They're $1 a piece. It's $4 for all four of these books. What the fuck? So I take him in there, and the guy behind the counter is coughing, and he's kind of sniffling, and I don't know. I mean, he's he's wearing a mask, but he's being a little casual about it. And so I go up to pay for the stuff, and I'm he's oh, this wasn't supposed to be out there. He sees a Henry Miller book, and he's this wasn't supposed to be out there. And so I'm okay, whatever, no problem. I didn't really want to buy it. I just thought, because I'm thinking about doing selling books on the street. More and more I'm reading about these poets that, sold their poetry in the West Village on the street. I got this amazing Maxwell Bodenheim book. It's really My Life and Loves in Greenwich Village. It's really beautiful. And that's what he did to make a living, seriously, around Washington Square Park. So I'm thinking I want to maybe I'll sell books with my own stuff as well, and then set up some kind of street operation. And so I'm trying to build stock of stuff that maybe I don't necessarily need, but I could sell. If I buy this Henry Miller book for $1, I know I could probably charge $7 for that. This is what my friend who does this, who sells books on New York City streets, that's what he told me. He told me, I asked him, I'm where do you get your books? How do you make a profit at this? He said he buys them on the dollar rack at other bookstores. So I'm constantly seeing shit on the dollar rack that maybe I wouldn't need or want, but I see the value in it and I could resell it. So I don't know. Now that I've got this space and maybe the opportunity to do that, I'm starting to build maybe an inventory. So that's why I was thinking about buying this fucking Henry Miller book. Mostly. I don't know. I've tried to read Henry Miller a number of times, and it's just never... There's some of his stuff that I like and that I've enjoyed, but I've never really clicked in with Henry Miller and been oh my God. I think Bob Dylan said Henry Miller is the greatest prose writer of the 20th century in America. I'm pretty sure. Something like that. And a lot of, Rollins loves Henry Miller. Henry Miller, but I don't know. I've never really gotten into him that much. He's okay. I've read this and that. I love the Henry Miller library. I love his vibe. I love his bohemian, but I don't know. I've never really, just oh my God, I need to read everything Henry Miller's written. I've never read anything of his and been I can't put this down. Really, it's always kind of I'm just kind of going through it, So he's yeah, this wasn't supposed to be out there, and then he's sees the Jane Jacobs book and he's this wasn't supposed to be out there either. And I'm oh man, is that just because people put him out there or what? And he's like, yeah, maybe we have new people, whatever, that don't know. And it was like, I don't know. It was like, then he like lifts up his mask and he like puts his finger like in his mouth. I don't even know what the fuck he was doing. He was like scratching himself, or there was some reason he lifted up his mask and it was like he touched his mouth. And I'm thinking, like, this dude was just coughing. He's been sniffling. He said something about how, like, some packing dust or something went down his, nose or whatever. And, I don't know. As soon as he did that, the whole interaction, I was kind of like not wanting to get too close to the guy and not really wanting to handle my books, because I was like, does he have germ? Like, does this guy have, I'm sure he's vaccinated, but like he wasn't, and he was coughing, and so you never know, you're still trying to be careful and whatnot. And so I think because when he did that and he like lifted his mask up and he touched himself, I kind of like, I must have given him a look or something, because at that, then he was just like, you know what, he was gonna, I was going to pay $2 for the 2 books I had. And he was like, I was like, I had a 20. That's all I had. I didn't have any ones. And he's like, you know what? Just take them. I don't want to lose any of my singles. I was like, really? Okay, sweet. Thanks. See you later. And I left real fast. And I think it was because he touched his mouth. And he was just like, this guy feels paranoid. We don't want any transaction of money in handling things. And plus, he was just being kind of an inconvenience about these other books that I was maybe going to buy. So it was like, that was cool. See, now that's a real business. I love that place. I've found great stuff on their dollar racks over the years. I found my Young American Poets with Tambourine Life. I found the Paul Blackburn book on their dollar rack. They're always putting good shit on their dollar rack. Maybe I shouldn't say that on here. They'll never see it, probably, but... I've started to go out in public. I don't carry sanitizer on me because I just don't have any, and I stopped taking my mittens everywhere. I took my gloves everywhere as sort of a sanitary precaution. I've stopped doing that. I've let that go. So, touching handles or screens or interchanging money, like... We know that it's not really a surface transmission, but I don't really want to get sick at all. Like, maybe this guy doesn't have coronavirus, but I don't want to get anything, if I can help it. So anyway, then I go to Molasses. Molasses is great. It's a beautiful place. They had some cool stuff. The thing about their poetry section, though, is they have these great tables that you can work on and shit. But the poetry section is like up on this goddamn wall, and there's a fucking table right where the shelf is beneath it. So literally you gotta like lean over the table, and you can only see half the shit while you're, and it's like, you can't really look at the poetry books, So it's like they might have good shit that you're missing just because you can't really see it. Every place has kind of raised their prices a little bit. The stuff at Human Relations was definitely not really cheap. Molasses isn't bad. They're pretty cool. But all the bookstores in Manhattan are kind of more expensive. I left one of my own chapbooks there. Because I want, I want to have my books in... Now it's like when I go to Brooklyn, it's like a Atlantic journey. It's like it has more of a, like I said, even though they're close together, there's sort of like a geographical and a psycho-geographical and a cultural shift that occurs when you go back and forth under the river. I mean, it's a quick journey, but it is two kind of powerful cultural centers in different ways, right next to each other. And now more and more Brooklyn is becoming sort of a permanent, I would say, like, cultural on like there's Netflix sound stages there. They shoot a lot of TV shows. a lot of the creatives and the artists and shit, their studios are there. That's all they can afford, maybe. Um, Manhattan is really unattainable, especially space wise. Like, it's a huge luxury. So, as population growth and just kind of the safety and the centralization of, world elite FOMO wanting to be near the center of energy and what's going on, and just the crossroads, anybody comes through here. That's not really true of that many places. In fact, New York might be the one, really. I mean, maybe London, maybe Paris, maybe some places in China or Tokyo, but I mean, New York, really, everybody comes through here. The United Nations is here, for Christ's sake. Like, so she met me at Molasses and looked around a little bit. It was good to be back, but that neighborhood is like kind of crazy for me because that's where we lived. We lived on St. Nicholas and Bleecker, weirdly enough, right before we left, before the pandemic and everything changed. So it's it's weird. I guess it wasn't really that weird to go back, but there's definitely trauma and bad memories. And, like, I don't know, even when I was living there, I kind of felt like I stuck out in a... Because in a certain way, those people don't really feel like New Yorkers. The young people who are trying and just who want to be cool and edgy and, like, dress that way and blah, 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 and get tattoos and be in bands. It's like... It's just superficial, and like they get so bilked on the rent because the people who are actually the locals who have lived there since the 70s and who own the buildings like charge the fuck out of them. Like, you want to come here, you want to build glass condo towers in our neighborhood, you want to be some jet set person who just comes in here for some internship or whatever, go to college, or because you want to, your parents are paying for everything. It's like you're going to pay for it. Like, but I don't know. It feels like there's two neighborhoods. And it's just weird. It's weird how there's all these, like, super hip, kind of soft people. Just people from Florida and shit who've got really cool clothes who are walking around this neighborhood and have their world within it. But it's like, it's not, it's not theirs. That's an immigrant neighborhood. It's a working class neighborhood traditionally. Now it's, a bunch of spoiled brats. Displacing the working class people, and it has been that way. It's just obviously the rising tide of gentrification is only expanding and seeping outward in this city, of course. So I don't know. I mean, I've always felt, even when I like Park Slope kind of fit for me, and this place feels like that too because it's not necessarily the center of this kind of, I don't know, superficial, trendy. Like, I don't know. I liked living there, but, like, I don't... Like, the music scene, I don't know. I feel like I should have been able to have more of, like, an ownership over what my own thing that I wanted to do. It was hard to get ingrained, and you were constantly, like, trying to ingrain yourself with people whose work... Like, the aesthetic of the scene there is I don't know. There's cool shit, but I don't know. I feel more like some kind of adult, just regular person who's living here and working here as an artist, and I'm not in a more long-term way. I'm not like just trying to get into some kind of thing that's happening because I heard about it like some, DIY Bushwick dime square. It's like, no, it's just like, this is where I live. I've always kind of had, even with the Slooge or doing open mics or, booking my own shows, booking parties, we've always had our own kind of like territory of the culture, To go to Poetry Project, I would say that's probably like maybe the principal way that I participate in, an institution that's sort of a, more of a, established thing that I'm just participating in. And then playing gigs, but like, I wasn't really ingratiated. Living in Park Slope, there's like a north-south Brooklyn divide, really. It's half an hour. I mean, especially getting to Bushwick. The G train's not that hard, but taking the G to the L and then the JMZ, it's like, forget that. You can take the F to fucking Delancey and transfer the JMZ there and then take that out to Bushwick, but it's not that convenient to get between those two. And there's something kind of nice about the separation and sort of having your own kind of like enclave and like hideaway, in a sense, away from that. If I was 25 and a bartender, I mean, obviously it'd be dope as hell to live in Bushwick and just be partying all the time and, just throw yourself into it completely. But, I don't know. I guess anywhere in New York, you're going to be taking the train inconvenient amounts of time to get to crazy shit way out in the middle, because everybody's just spread all over the place now. Unlike when Manhattan was the concentrated bohemia downtown and everybody could live in, the Lower East Side or whatever. So we go to the reading and we kind of get there early. It was at 7, but I'm thinking, it's on a rooftop. I'm thinking, like, is there going to be a capacity? I want to get in before. So we got there kind of early, and there was, like, it was literally, we were the first. But it wasn't weird because, like, we were kind of doing our own thing and just kind of catching up, getting to know each other. Because, like I said, even though we've been in contact throughout the pandemic, I met her very briefly in LA at her series. And I've been to her series a couple times on Zoom, and we've texted a little bit or whatever. But we haven't really ever hung out in person, and she's here on vacation, and I'm not really sure what the intention is or what the what it is, to be honest. Like, I'm trying to just be a good host, really, and like, this is like my poet friend, and like, I see the world through that kind of lens. So I'm like, I'm trying to give her like a poet's tour of this, part of New York that, like, if you're a tourist, you might not really know about Bushwick, to be honest. Like, you come to New York because you go to Manhattan. You come to New York because you go to, the East Village or the Washington Square Park or Times Square, or maybe you know about Williamsburg or something, but Bushwick, I don't know. Maybe hip or younger people, I'm sure, do, but I don't know. With poets, it's just like I want to share my life and my time, and like, let's go to the reading together. Like, let's listen to it. Like, this is what we do. Thank God we're allowed to do it again. I mean, I've been looking for in-person events to go to, because it started, but it's still kind of like, it's not like every night you can pick between stuff. But this is why I'm here, you know? And living by myself also, like, there is an importance to, like, go out and socialize. That's what I realize. Like, going out into the city at night, being with people, having adventures, feels productive, feels like I'm doing something. It's important to leave the house. But the 4 floors down does feel like kind of an abrupt, like, launch. It's like, some days you don't want to do that necessarily. Some days you just want to stay up in the heavens and not go anywhere. But then I need stories to tell. I need adventures. And I love this. It's my life. This is what I'm here for. I wish I could have filmed it. This is my initial kind of Lives of the Poets. This is my cosmopolitan micro diary, my auto fiction. It's not a memoir. Memoir is not a thing. That's a degrading label. You're perfectly allowed to write about your own life, and it's a great thing to write about. And you're perfectly allowed to write by talking. It's a great way to write. If most people talked instead of wrote, maybe their writing would be interesting or less cliche. But then again, maybe not. You're watching the Frankly Fabulous video diary live from downtown Manhattan, live from MNN, the Manhattan Neighborhood Network. I gotta make a new episode, so this week it's supposed to rain a bunch, so I'll probably do that. But I should have shot a bunch of stuff last night, but that's why I'm doing this. I'm giving you the mental movie. I'm cutting it, I'm editing it, I'm projecting it right now with my mind, my voice, my thoughts, my remembrances. Recollected in tranquility with next day delivery, prime delivery. So we're on this rooftop, we're talking. Like I said, I wasn't sure if it was a date. It wasn't really a date, but it's like, what is this? Like, I don't know, like, not to go too much into it, but with poetry people, especially with people that, like, I am sort of maybe going to want to know long term, I don't necessarily know that I'm super just, like, trying to jump into anything. And I wasn't sure if that was, like, even on the radar or what. It's just different than just, like, meeting some rando swipe or whatever. It's like we had a lot in common. There was a lot to talk about. Sweet. Like I said, I like the way that she works her way through poetry stuff. Just like she likes what she likes, And so the reading, if I didn't recognize a lot of people at the reading, but it filled up, and it was like a lot of attractive people, basically. It was a lot of insanely good-looking people with cool clothes, and, who knows? It's hard to tell how much substance there is or what the background of anybody. Did they all go to new school? Are they all writers for magazines? Are they all really avant-garde artists? Are they, I don't know. But there we were amongst them, just being ourselves, holding our own. We're the poets in the back, smoking weed. And it was cool music and just a good vibe, you know. But we got there way early. And like the weather this time of year, it's so hard because yesterday when I left the house, I'm literally thinking, do I even need this jacket? Like, it's too hot. I had my jean jacket tied around my waist. It's 80 plus degrees. I'm like, God damn, it's too fucking hot. Like, am I even going to need this? Then, you know, by the time the reading starts, it's like we're on a rooftop. The sun has gone down. The wind is blowing. It's chilly. It's like 60-something degrees. It's like my jacket's not even enough, you know. I don't even know what, you know, other people were feeling, but people, they must have been cold. Rest in peace, Grodin and Paul Mooney. The remembrance goes on. You are not forgotten. So, I notice amongst the crowd a few people that I recognize from the internet and else. Well, I guess primarily the internet. People that, well, I don't know. The one guy is, I've actually seen him before. This one guy is a poet from Columbus, actually, and I didn't know who he was. I think I found out about him when I went to the Flyover Fest. Monster House had a little booth there with their publications, and he had published a book with them that was, you know, he's a guy from Columbus, Ohio, who's like, I don't know, he's a little younger than me, but he was, you know, trying to make his way as a poet, and I would say probably one of the more, I don't know, not like established, but like he kind of had a status amongst the art community and the DIY people in Columbus. Like I said, this Monster House published like his book. It was like 100 pages, and it was sort of it was mostly about Columbus and kind of the political structure there and like the city. It was kind of a mix of like William Carlos Williams with a little bit of Frank O'Hara and like Frederick Seidel. There was like that sing-songy, rhymey thing that Michael Robbins does, and a lot of people were doing, you know, 2008, 2010. Because living in Columbus, like you could tell from the book that the guy wanted to live in New York so bad, but like he didn't really have that much experience there. He had a poem about the Staten Island Ferry or something, and I remember thinking and being like, oh shit, this guy's kind of on the same trail that I'm on. I mean, his stuff was like funny-ish, but he was also like an art critic, and I think he maybe taught at CCAD, or you know, he'd like write essays for and shit. So he was kind of like doing what I discovered was a way of life here, you know, like writing art criticism, publishing stuff, or you know, he was taken seriously as a poet by the kind of scene in Columbus, Ohio, the young people at Ohio State, let's say, the campus. That's what Monster House was. It was more or less the campus, kind of like alt-lit, let's say. It was like they'd have basement DIY house shows. I never went there. I was not that cool. My friends and I would have our own parties, but we were not really like understanding. We'd play guitar and shit at the party, but like, you know, of course our band would play at some parties and things, but like, I mean, I never lived in a DIY house till the Sluge because I never lived with anybody. You know, I lived with my parents and I lived by myself. The first time I ever lived in a communal living situation was in Brooklyn. And so, like, I was sort of, you know, I'm aware of DIY culture and all of that, and that was sort of our Brooklyn tweed kind of, you know, I don't know, upscale version of that. Or, you know, leather-bound DIY zine. That's what Brooklyn is. That's what the Sluge was. Class, grace, distinguished, gentlemanly kind of texture, but DIY and just going for it. And like I said, I never really was that. I kind of vaguely knew what that place was, but I never went to it. And I didn't know who this guy was till probably, I think that was 2017 when I went to that Flyover Fest. And I got his book because they had it at Poet's House. Because Monster House Press was... But they just aped... Their stuff looked exactly like Wave Books. And they just kind of aped... what the cool people on the coast were doing, more or less. You know, as a person in provincial Ohio, or Indiana, they also had a thing in Bloomington. There was kind of a, their DIY, some of their people like moved to Bloomington or something. Like, you're kind of aware of what's cool on the coast, but you've never actually like been a part of it or lived through it or like you're not existing. So, you might think, oh, that's what's cool and, like, that's what's cool in avant-garde, and so let's try and do that here, Now the internet, I don't know, has made shit a little more everywhere, but, I don't know. This guy, he's, like, kind of successful, and... He was taken seriously, like he's been interviewed in Columbus fucking Alive, and like he's been at reading series in Columbus and shit. But a few years ago, I saw through social media, whatever, that he moved to New York finally. I moved here in 2010. I think he probably got here in 2019 or something. But when you're in these circles and when you're connected like that, it's just like that's the network everywhere. Like this reading is something that I only heard about through social media. It looked like it was going to be a cool thing, so I thought it would be good experience and just a different kind of reading to be exposed to. Maybe there's going to be some kind of, this is what young people, I want to, being back, my priority is not only to like study the history and the kind of lineage of this, West Village Bohemian poets, East Village Bohemian poets, Manhattan, this environment I'm in, but also, and maybe more importantly, to connect with what's going on, of course, right now, and the youth, and the cutting edge, like to be a part of that, and to be a part of the scene. So going to readings, I feel comfortable doing that. It's free, unlike music stuff. And like, I have an investment in this community, and it's my community, and I feel comfortable going to this stuff, even though it was like a bunch of cool people. I mean, would I have gone? It helped to have somebody to go with. Definitely, and I'm glad that we could go together. Like, it was a lot of fun, and like, it took like social anxiety off because you're not just there by yourself thinking, oh God, like, am I being awkward? Like, I need to talk to people or whatever. Well, it's like we're on a rooftop in Brooklyn. I don't know. Post-pandemic, I'm gonna live my life, man. Go all the way. Fucking YOLO. That's how we got in this fucking mess. The YOLO mentality. I've started to hear people say that more and more. I haven't heard it in a few years. YOLO. I think people stopped maybe saying that when Trump happened. He was a consequence of YOLO, maybe. But now we're back to YOLO. It was safe to YOLO in the Obama era. When Trump happened, it was like, I ain't YOLO and shit. I'm gonna shelter in place. I'm staying at home. I'm gonna be safe as fuck because these people are YOLOing without their masks or vaccines. Throwing caution in the wind. So, this guy is there, and then I also noticed there's this girl on Instagram who I think I followed because she was like from North Carolina or South. She was like from Asheville or something, I thought. But she seemed like really cool and like one of these kind of, I don't know, the thing with poetry stuff for me, or with anything, Instagram is just the best way to find out about, like, okay, if you see something that looks like something you're interested in, or like in this case, it looked like this is edgy. I do feel like it's sort of my job to just like know what's going on in contemporary poetry. And that includes, studying, like I said, the history, but also like what the newest thing is. And so you just follow somebody on Instagram. So this girl, like, I think she's like maybe in the MFA at New School. But, she, her look is super cool, tats, and like, super like just resting, everything. And I see that they know each other. And not to male gaze or like to be a scumbag about it, but she's attractive, let's say. That's not, like, that's just a coincidence. But with all this shit, it's like you start to realize it's just a small world, and it's a psychic mindfuck of all your worst nightmares all the time, and just like I've learned to laugh constantly in the face of life. That's the only solution. You just have to laugh in the face of the hilarious jokes that life tries to play on you, because it's all a show. So anyway, this dude is like 6 foot in person. I see him, and he's like, she's with her friend, and they're standing right in front of us. We're like in the back corner because we were talking, and I wanted to be away from people while we're smoking. So we can't see shit. Everybody's like standing in front of us. We can't see anything. So what's in front of me? This girl I follow on Instagram. And then her friend, who, I hate to say it, has like the greatest ass I've ever fucking seen. Like, not to be a pig about it. I'm sorry to even say that. But like, it's just true. So I'm standing there, and I'm not, to be honest, I wasn't really, I'm past that. I'm not really like desperate in that way. Like, I don't need to look at it. It's like, okay, it is what it is. I'm talking to my friend. We're having a good time. I'm not like looking around. Oh, look at all these, It's like we're having a good time. And we're in our own kind of conversation. We're not even really a part of the thing, to be honest. Like, it's all these people, like I said, are super chic, super, everybody's got that patina. That kind of like, I don't know, DIY art person patina. The guys all look like they're skaters or something, They're all drinking beer out of cans, and everybody smokes cigarettes. So this guy, who like is sort of like a parallel version of me, his name is James too, and his last name starts with P. So we're from the same fucking place. We've been doing kind of the same thing. Maybe he's probably been doing it longer. Maybe it's pure for him, but it's pure for me too in a different way. I'm not exactly sure. He's definitely like, well, anyway, during the Trump years, he was like a socialist. He became super all about that. I'm sure he is that, because his writing was always very like kind of taking apart the societal structures. And his book was it was an interesting and valuable contribution to like Columbus, because it did kind of dissect the power structures of what makes Columbus, and spoke about the local, iconography and neighborhoods and streets and buildings and things like that in the way that's important. Even if stylistically it was trying to be like super new and hip, but it was imitating stuff that's kind of old-fashioned, to be honest. It was, like I said, it was pretty much William Carlos Williams and like a little bit of Frank O'Hara. Not even like aware of Eileen Miles or anything. And then Frederick Seidel was all over that. Just like Michael Robbins shit. Because Poetry Magazine and fucking Paris Review published that shit. So anyway, I see this guy in person, And he's tall once again, of course. He's about as tall, I'd say, as my mom's ex-husband was. He's like probably like he's like one of those guys that's like it's tall enough that's like you're like he's not so tall that you're like fuck this guy's tall, but he's like tall enough that you're like god damn this guy's a big fucking dude. And and I don't know, he looks like shit to be honest. Like I don't know, like I don't know why women find this attractive. I don't get it. But anyway, he's talking to this super hot girl all night. And he's talking to her friend, and they're just like, I wasn't paying that much attention. I wasn't really eating my heart out like jealously, but it's just another one of these weird things where it's like, this guy's sort of like a weird parallel to me. And look at the life he's living. Like, he's read in cool places in New York. He's a part of Montez Press Radio and shit like that, like the Dime Square thing. Like, some of those people are from Columbus. The producer of Red Scare was like a Columbus. I don't really agree with that stuff that much. I don't really consider myself a part of the dirtbag left. I'm not into that, to be honest. Like, and that I did get a little bit of that vibe last night. Like, I'm not sure if you were to talk to a lot of those people how much they actually knew about literature, or if that was just like their kind of particular societal kind of function that they were moving in. Because, to be honest, I was not into the readings that much. Like, I liked the first reader who read a piece about going to the beach or something. Because they're a poet. That's why I went, because I saw it on their Instagram, so I thought this is going to be a poetry. I didn't know who any of the people were, but I just thought that's because I've been out of the loop, and let's see some new poets. If it's this writer who I respect, and like I know that they're hip and cool, then I thought, okay, this will be a cool event. The other writers will be good. And maybe they were. I just don't like fiction. I don't like prose. Like, it was all prose, and it was just like, it's hard to listen to because you have to keep track of everything, and it's just like, it's narrative, it's complete sentences. It's not like poetry is just so full of juice and so full of life, and then prose is just like this, like you have to do all this work to get I don't even know what. It is what it is. Like, I'm not totally against it, but I just don't really like listening to it that much. I love listening to poetry. And I was a little bit off guard. As soon as they just started reading prose mostly, I was just kind of like, fuck. This is not what I thought it was going to be, Even though there is, especially now, sort of a lot of transaction between prose and poetry, particularly, like, let's say, new narrative. Like, the reader had mentioned, it was a Bruce Boone, I think, or was it Robert Glick? I think it was Bruce Boone. Was like what their piece was kind of like patterned after, or an homage to. And then I don't know if they meant, but a lot of like Kevin Killian, Dodie Bellamy. There's like, or even Eileen Miles. There's a lot of kind of like back and forth between the prose, the fiction, the novels, and the poetry. And I think they can learn from each other, So, if these are like the most respected, edgy fucking, I just think it's really boring. But there was a lot of people there, and it was probably because it was prose. I'm looking around, there's like 60 people. This roof is full. It's like, it's because it's prose. Like, it's just a bigger market. Poetry is a very niche kind of scene. So, I kind of tuned in and out. It was getting cold. I'm sitting on the roof. I'm looking around. The sky's beautiful. I'm just happy to be out. I'm happy to be with my friend. I wasn't even jealous. I'm watching this guy. Him and this girl are flirting right in front of me. They're drinking, smoking. Smoking Marlboros. At one point I look over and the dude, his legs. He was wearing shorts. He looked like shit. His clothes were shitty. That's how they dress. I don't know. He looked like a prep. You know, like he was wearing like sort of knee-length cargo shorts maybe. And like a big like J. Crew like looking fucking like kind of shirt. And then like he just looked like kind of a preppy like character out of like a Whit Stillman or like a fucking Bret East, like all these guys. They all look like fucking Bret Easton Ellis characters. They all look like they're from Rhode Island. Or they're like East Coast, I don't know, Muffy culture. Muffy and Spuds. Not Spalding Gray. Spalding Gray's great. And Ted is from Rhode Island, too. I know good people from Rhode Island. I'm not against Rhode Island, but you get what I'm saying. This, like, sailor-ish, informed by, like, being on a sailboat. It's like, I don't know. But anyway, he's super tall. And I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at his legs and his fucking shorts, and I'm like, he looks like fucking Dave. That's why women like this guy, because he's fucking tall. It's that goddamn simple. When you're that tall, you can afford to just like stand there and not do shit. You know, you don't have to like struggle to get people's attention because everybody's looking up. Oh my God, you're so tall. Amazing. How did you do that? Let's have sex right now. Ooh, you're only 5'7"? Ooh, get away. You're gross. You're a loser. You're pathetic. You're just a gross man. But you're 6'2". Oh my God. Yeah, so interesting. You're so cool. I'll sit here and just stare at you and like defer to you and kiss your ass all night. I'll never kiss this guy's ass. He's only 5'7". I don't want his genetic material. Let his line die out. Let his seed rot. This is how the world works, people. I'm here to tell you that. Frankly Fabulous is here to give you the straight dope. Pull no punches here. The radical left. That's me. I am the fucking radical left. Fuck you, Mitch McConnell. I'll kill you. Metaphorically speaking, of course. I'll kill your political life. So yeah, I look over at one point, and this dude is standing, and there's literally like the hot Instagram girl, the girl with the greatest ass I've ever seen, and this other insanely hot girl, and this dude just like standing there, and he's like lighting their cigarettes. And I just saw it for a second. I'm just like, it didn't even like hurt me. I was just like, yeah, that makes sense. That, look, life is an illusion. It's made to torture you. Of course this person that like is my direct competition, and maybe that's not the right way to look at it, but it does feel like there's only so much genius to go around, and you want to have it, not the other guy. And if you come from the same place and you have the same name and you're doing the same thing, it's like, oh, it seems less likely that there's going to be two, genius bro art poets or whatever. Art bro poets. And his resume, I don't know, for Columbus, it's like he curated shit, Skylab, and it said he was the director of Roy G. Biv Gallery, which is kind of nuts. I find that hard to, but whatever. I was never a part of that scene. In Columbus, I was always, just like here, I guess, we just kind of did our own thing. We had our own scene, more or less, and it was just a bunch of dudes who were our friends from high school. Just like now. JK. It's Frankly Fabulous, JK. JK with FLF. So we leave the reading, and I'm like, like I said, we weren't drinking. She had one beer. I was smoking weed pretty continuously. But it wasn't like, I don't know. Should I have made it like, is that what this is? She's in town because we're supposed to like get wasted and like hook up. I don't know. I'm like I said, I was trying to just be like more respectful and like go for like I don't want to make it awkward or something by having that happen and then like having it be something where it's like, oh, I can't talk to this person anymore. So, especially within my own field, I'm trying to be a little bit respectful and do the right thing. But I don't know. And also, it's just COVID, so it's like you got to be a little bit on guard about this or that. And I've got a number of things. I hate to say it, but I have a number of dates in a row. So I had, the thing last night. Tonight, I've got a date I'm really excited about, actually, with this girl who's, it's at 8 p.m., I think. Let me double check real fast. She's really cool. I'm like super, and then I've got maybe another date with this girl tomorrow who's also super fucking hot and cool. And then I was supposed to maybe have one Sunday. Now it's looking like I might have one Monday. But then there's this reading on Sunday I want to go to. So it's like I have to kind of pace my, like, drinking. 8. Okay. Like, I need to be able to drink on these dates because that's what they are. You go to a bar, you get a drink. And it just makes things easier. I don't know, like, oh God, I hate to say it, but like, I'd love to meet somebody and like hit it off. And I've been playing it slow with people. I've been trying to like just have a good time, enjoy the date, and let it take its own natural course. I haven't been forcing anything. But it's like, man, I do need physical something. I'm going crazy. Because it's just like we've been let out of the gates, and it's like you're looking around. Oh God, I gotta find some. Like it's been a long time for me, for Daddy. So I'm a little impatient, and I've been cool about it. The dates have been cool. They've been fine. I've had a nice time, but it just nothing. It just didn't. I don't know. Do people? I thought after the pandemic, everybody was gonna just be like DTF. I mean, to be honest, I haven't been on a date since I shaved my beard. That may have something to do with it. I hope this isn't like so dark that it's just gonna fucking fuck everything up. So here's hoping that like shaving the beard. This girl's really into 60s culture. She's really into 60s music. She said she had a Beau Brummels album. And she was stoked when I knew who Beau Brummels was, which is kind of amazing because they're great. So I think I'm hoping I just meet somebody and like we just have a great rapport and we hit it off. Like that's what I'm hoping is going to happen tonight. Tomorrow the girl's like really into, she had Don DeLillo quotes in her profile. Her profile was amazing. It was none of the bullshit that everybody else does. And it was all, and I was like, what is this? Did she write this? So I messaged her. I was like, is that poetry? She's like, it's Don DeLillo quotes. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? That's the greatest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. Well, I mean, I love Don DeLillo. It's not necessarily the most edgy thing, but it's fucking like I'm so excited about if that may or may not happen. And then there's, so it's just like I got a number of things. I got to pace myself a little bit, And I don't know. She said she's going to be in town till like June 13th. So like maybe we'll go to more readings. Maybe, like I don't feel necessarily the need to like jump into anything per se, Maybe it could have been that if I just would have went for that, but I don't know. I don't know how people are thinking. Like this girl tonight, like is it even in her realm of possibility that we might hook up? Or is she just thinking, I mean, it's Friday night, we're going out at 8 o'clock. Or is she just thinking, well, we'll go out, I'll get to know him, we'll have a couple drinks, I'll say goodnight, that'll be that. And then maybe we'll go out again if I like him. I mean, my one friend was telling me, and this was like in 2000, 17 maybe 16. That might have been 2016. He was telling me he had sex with like 5 girls in a month off of Tinder. Which, like, I don't really often have one-night stands off of online dating. In fact, it almost never happens. Maybe I'm just not hot enough. But, maybe it's height. This girl tonight is 5'4", so we'll see how that plays out. So anyway, after the reading, we're in Bushwick. I want to go to Clomclorm. If you've never been to Clomclorm, well, I don't know if I can really recommend it now, but when I lived there, I would eat Clomclorm like every couple days. They have this duck salad. Go to the cafe at Clomclorm on, what is that street? I don't know. It's in Bushwick. Proper. Near Cobra Club and all of that bullshit. Go to the cafe at Clomclorm. Get the duck salad. It's $10. It wasn't as good last night because they typically put it in this plastic, and they put the dressing all over it. So the dressing is really in it. It's saturated in the dressing. Last night they gave it to me in this paper, like cardboard thing, and they gave me the dressing on the side. So I only had a little bit of the dressing. So like most of the salad was dry. And the duck was also dry. So it's like, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot. If they would have given me a little more dressing, it would have been a much better dish. Maybe the dressing has shitloads of salt in it or something. I don't know. So I got that. And I just, I figured we're in this neighborhood. It's very cheap. It's $10. It'll be cool for her to try. This is like maybe a place people don't really know about. And like, it's kind of a cool, I think it's Thai, and it's just a cool place right across from Think Coffee, which is a total scene. And so we get it, and they're closing. They're kind of pissed that we're in there because, like, we showed up 15 minutes before they closed. So they give us our food, and we go over to this other patio nearby where this other restaurant's closing. And the dude's, like, fucking, locking up his tables and shit, clearing the patio. So we're sitting there eating. And I feel bad because I'm taking the peanuts out because I don't eat peanuts. And they're like falling all over the place in my trash, like on this guy's patio. He didn't really give a shit, it sounded like. But, and I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon because I do have to start to get ready for this hot date I've got. Oh, wish me luck. Oh, God. I'm just, trying to, oh, God. Just get something going on. So anyway, we're sitting on the fucking patio, and we're talking, we're having a nice time. And my trajectory for the night was like, we're hanging out, we'll just take it, see where it goes. Like, she's on vacation, Her mom, I guess, has an apartment in Manhattan that she's going to sell, so she came to New York to just stay in it before she sells it. So that's, pretty cool. But she's here for a little while, So but I thought, we'll just hang out. We'll see what happens, So we're eating there, and she says, all of a sudden she finds a bug in her food. It's like this tiny, tiny little roach. She's like, it was good, it was good though, until I found the bug in my food. And so that was a little gross and a little bit of maybe a bad omen, or it just wasn't like the most titillating thing that could happen. It wasn't appetizing at all, in any way. And I don't know, it may have freaked her out. She was cool about it. She's a cool person. She was a theater major too. I think she may have switched to English, but she was, she was an actor. So there's definite similarities, and like, she's just real. She doesn't try and like act cool or anything, There was the best part of the reading last night, I will say, was this one poet was speaking how they had trained with Hanif Abdurraqib, and I forget who else, at Tin House. And they read a poem. They read a few prose pieces, which were good. One of which was about toxic, dudes. But then they read this poem, which was the best thing of the whole night. It was the one poem, and she said she wrote it when she was horny and spiraling during the pandemic. So maybe it was like a little, TMI, but it was phenomenal. The details of it and the honesty of it. The whole thing just came alive. And then after that, it was kind of like, okay. I wasn't that into the readings, just to be honest. Like, I don't know who the main readers were or the press was, but because I don't really follow that stuff. But I don't know. It didn't really prick up my ears, except for this poem, which was phenomenal. And so after the reading, my friend is just like irrepressible. She's just like, I'm going to go talk to that poet. I love that poem. I'm like, yeah, go. And so she runs over, no compunction. I'll just run straight to her. Hey, I loved your poem, blah, blah, blah. And they talk for like a few minutes, probably like 5 or 10 minutes. It was cool. I admire that. That's what I want to be. That's what I want to do, is just the guy that like beelines right after the reading to talk to the poet. Hey, I loved your poem. She's real. She's genuine. You know what I mean? That's how I can tell, because she just does that stuff naturally. She's not doing it because it's like the thing she read about and it's what, she's self-conscious. It's like, no, that's her natural impulse. She wanted to introduce herself to this poet, maybe to get her on her series, and she's very authentic about what she likes. She has a very specific kind of like flavor. A lot of the stuff she writes is kind of sexual. In a good way. I can relate. Totally. I can relate 100%. So I feel bad that she found a bug in her food. That's not necessarily a good, it's been a pandemic, and I don't know, it's Bushwick, so it's like, it is kind of a gnarly place. Like, it is this little kitchen in the back of this restaurant. Like, this nasty fucking street is outside, and like, it's just a very industrial, kind of grimy area, We love it for that. It's a beautiful place. I lived there for 2 months. It was a total hell. But I liked walking around Bushwick. I liked walking around those streets, going to Cafe Clomclorn. I've never had a bug that I'm aware of. Like I said, the salad was kind of dry, but it was still good. If they would have did it, the way they did it before, it would have been phenomenal. Everything I remember. I'm glad they're still in business. They're great. Support Clomclorn, definitely. Well, it's 6 p.m. Is there anything else? That was kind of... So we're standing out front. And, like, she's like, are you going to take the train back? This is the moment. You don't know what's going to happen. I didn't know what I should do. Should I make a move? Would that be totally out of the blue? Like, the evening didn't really seem like it was, like, on that trajectory, per se. But, like, I don't know. Like, it was cool hanging out with her. And, like, we were kind of a good pair in a weird way. Like, just, I don't know. I was genuinely having, a connection, I think. And so she's just like, I think I'm going to get a lift. Which, like, lift from fucking Bushwick to the Upper East Side is like, that had to have been like $40 or something. At least 30. It had to have been $40. Like, there's no way that was cheap at all. Definitely 30, 35, $40. Which, like, I don't know. So she ordered a lift real quick, kind of abruptly, and I didn't really know what to do. I was kind of like, really? You got a lift? Shit. Well, it'd be cool to hang out more. She didn't really give me that much time. She, like, I don't know who she knows here, but she seemed like she had a lot of stuff to do and to see. So, like, I'm wondering, like, she's got other dudes lined up. Is like, I don't know. She just seeing friends, like, but she didn't really offer me, like, that much of her schedule or that many options, let's say. So I just thought, okay, well, she's got a lot of things she's got to do. We're just going to, like, hang out, and that'll be that probably, like you do when people are in town, So, like 2 minutes later, the lift showed up right in front of Think Coffee. I kind of awkwardly hugged her. Okay, well, we may go to this thing on Saturday. And then she kind of looked back when she got in the lift, like she kind of gave me a look like, you fucking idiot. Get in the lift with me. But I don't know. I may have just been hallucinating that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the fucking boundaries are anymore. So I'm trying to pace myself. I've got to get ready. Frankly Fabulous is a hot date. Wish me luck. Hopefully we'll start a little bit of a winning streak here. I've got to get my domestic partnership dissolved. Apparently you can only do it by mail, so I've got to find a notary public. And then blue skies smiling at me. That's what I predict for this summer. Nothing but blue skies do I see. Am I going to get copyright snipped by the Irving Berlin estate? So yeah, she got in the lift, and it lifted her away from my ass, and I got on the L train, which was right there, conveniently enough. I got right on DeKalb. It was only 10:30, so I thought, should I hang out and do shit? I've got this big kind of pimple on my nose, sort of, which sucks because I've got this thing, this hot date, so it's not great timing. So that's another reason why I wasn't trying to drink, because it's like, I don't know, beer is just so gross. Like, having drank it a few times in the past, it's so gross. Like, it's just gassy and, like, farty and, like, bready and gross. It's like drinking liquid wheat harvest. A big loaf of bread. Just drink a big sweaty loaf of bread. And then you feel shitty the next day. So tonight I'm going for broke. I'm going to order whiskey maybe. Some kind of liquor, I think. Beer is just not, I can't really do beer. Although on Monday at KGB I had 2 Budweisers and I was feeling awesome. So maybe that could be good. But I don't know, liquor in a certain way, it almost doesn't get me as drunk. Maybe I'm crazy to say that, but all right, I got to eat something, get dressed. I got to pick cool clothes out because this girl wears cool clothes, so I'm excited about that. She's 60s, so she might fit my aesthetic and my vibe and my natural interests, my dad rock, kind of psychedelic. So, we can talk about that. The wars of love once more into the breach, the battlefield. This is my my holy war, the wars of love. Sauntering forth into the assailing hinge dates, the barrage of rejection, heartbreak. Watching other people light 3 incredibly hot girls' cigarettes in front of you. Watching your friend slip into the lift and you once more disappearing into the night to go underground, ride the train alone home. Your big apartment. I can't wait to show somebody this fucking apartment. This is such a great place to have sex. There's so much we could do here. I've got a projector. I've got all these cameras. I got weed. Got books. Got records. Got a guitar. We can draw. Anything. I don't have the internet. But I'm in the underground. That's what I've decided. I'm underground. Frankly Fabulous is an underground sensation. The people who need to know are in the know. They're the underground. Last night was sort of underground-ish. But I don't know. I got on the train. I rode home. I came back. And today, we're going to do it all again. and then tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. Good night, everybody. It's the Frankly Fabulous Video Diary. The hottest details, the hottest gossip, the hottest stories. All of the lives of the poets, the soap opera, the characters twining. Will they or won't they? Does he like her? She likes him. Who's his crush? Who's her crush? Oh, my crush. Am I anybody's crush? It's Frankly Fabulous anybody's crush? I should be. I should be the internet's crush. I should be everybody's crush. I am everybody's crush. I'm Frankly Fabulous. I am everybody's crush. Good night, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend. I'm, going to have a great time. I'm going to dress up. This is New York, baby. This is how we do.